Hey up, it's Steve from that old Yorkshire geek. Quick show today, bit of Star Trek news, so let's just get on with it, shall we? Right, I'm back. Apologies again for the my background. You've got to look at my living room because my computer's throwing a benny, and it won't let me use the snazzy, green screeny effects and stuff without going all jerky because it's stupid. But anyways, as I said, couple of Star Trek. Did I say Star Wars before? Whatever. Couple of Star Trek stories, hence the Star Trek cap. So let's get these on. We'll do the good news first, and then I suppose it's bad news, but whatever. Right. Star Trek fans celebrate the Next Generation's 35th anniversary. Let's move that up a bit, because half of the screen's missing for that bugger, isn't it? Oh, cracky, where are you going? Oh, crumbs. Just move that over a little bit. By the way, don't forget, up there you see in the red bits, don't forget to like and subscribe, share the videos and all that. Hit the notification bell, set it to always on, whatever that means. And, all that cool stuff. And we might get some more subscribers. We might reach 100 by Christmas, maybe. Anyway, right, Star Trek fans are celebrating the 35th anniversary of Star Trek The Next Generation's debut. Star Trek The Next Generation brought Star Trek back to television for the first time since Star Trek, the original series, went off air in 1969. It's not entirely true, there was Star Trek the animated series, wasn't there? In the early 70s, so they should have said live action Star Trek, shouldn't they? Anyway, a feat that Star Trek Discovery would emulate with its premiere 5 years ago. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? The two-part premiere, Encounter at Farpoint, debuted on CBS on September 28th, 1987, and 27 million people tuned in to watch. This is from yesterday, obviously, because it's 29th today, as I record this. This set Star Trek The Next Generation on the path to become a cultural juggernaut on television, eventually leading to the launch of spin-offs Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Star Trek Voyager. Don't forget Star Trek Enterprise. Unbelievable. And 4 feature films, Star Trek Generation, Star Trek First Contact, Star Trek Insurrection, and Star Trek Nemesis. I really enjoyed Encounter at Farpoint. I did. A lot of people say it's a weak pilot, but I quite enjoyed it. I thought we were all right. And I quite enjoyed Star Trek Next Generation's first season. Probably more so than the second season. Yeah, there were some ropey episodes because they were finding their feet and it were a bit stiff, wasn't it? But I still enjoyed it. Also, decades later, Star Trek Picard continues the story. What are you talking about the new Star Treks for? We're celebrating the Next Generation for crying out loud. I know it's Picard and that, but whatever. Continues the story of Jean-Luc Picard, played by Patrick Stewart, into a new era. The third and final season of Star Trek Picard is set to debut in February and will feature the return of the rest of the Star Trek The Next Generation cast, apart from Wesley, because he's sodded off with what's-her-face, hasn't he? Reuniting them for their first new adventures in 20 years. Before that, the cast will reunite for the Star Trek Universe panel at New York Comic Con. The Star Trek The Next Generation is streaming on Paramount Plus and Netflix in the UK. See how fans are celebrating on social media below. Right, here's some tweets there. Happy 35th anniversary to Star Trek TNG. 35 years ago, Star Trek was brought into modern television. And there's a, well, that's not from the first season, is it? Because you can tell with the collars. Happy 35th. That's also a later. Because he's got a beard. He had a beard from season 2, didn't he? And also you can tell by the uniforms. It's season 3 onwards. And more celebrations and more celebrations. Happy 35th. So yes, happy 35th anniversary for yesterday for Star Trek TNG, as we like to call it, in nerdy circles. That's it. Everybody loves Star Trek The Next Generation. It's a crappy title though, isn't it, really? I mean, when it started, I thought, that's a crappy title, Star Trek The Next Generation. I think not long before that, maybe, They'd been like Peyton Place, The Next Generation, hadn't they? Or something along those lines. I remember seeing it before somewhere. And I thought, it makes it sound like a soap opera. But it grew on us, I suppose. And I'm also kind of disappointed at the theme at the time. I thought, hang on, they're reusing the theme from Star Trek The Motion Picture. Why haven't they done a new theme? Or why didn't they use, Alexander Courage's theme? But they reused Jerry Goldsmith's theme, which, we all came to love anyway. Which I loved it anyway, but, initially I thought, why have they reused that? But anyway, we love Star Trek The Next Generation, and as I said, I really enjoyed Encounter at Farpoint, because we met Q, and those alien jellyfish things were a bit iffy, weren't they? But Q were the star of the show, wasn't it? And that was Gene Roddenberry's idea. The original story was just like a single episode with the jellyfish aliens and Farpoint Station. And the executives said they wanted more. They wanted to, fill it out into a 2-hour pilot. So it was Gene Roddenberry that came up with Q. So because he loves his godlike aliens, doesn't he? And obviously Q became a fan favourite. So there you go. So happy anniversary, TNG, and hopefully season 3 of Picard is good. Robert Myburnett says it's really good. So if he says it's good, I hope it is. I don't always agree with him. But if he says it's good, and he's hated modern Star Trek, so it must be okay. Right, let's go on to the bad news. I suppose it's bad news. From Variety, Star Trek sequel removed by Paramount from upcoming film slate. And there's Chris Pine as young Kirk and Zachary Quinto as young Spock, who gets angry real quickly. Just mention his mother and he'll beat you up. I hate them Star Trek films, I do. Apart from Star Trek Beyond, which was okay, but it still had problems. Paramount has removed its untitled Star Trek sequel from its upcoming film slate. The project, produced by J.J. Abrams' Bad Reboot, had been dated to hit theatres on December 22nd, 2023. The rather inevitable news comes roughly 1 month after director Matt Shakman exited the Star Trek film, which was nominally set to be the 4th cinematic tour of duty for Chris Pine as Kirk, Zachary Quinto as Spock, Zoe Saldana as Uhura, Carl Urban as Bones, John Cho as Sulu, and Simon Pegg as Scotty. And sadly no Anton Yelchin, because he sadly passed away a few years ago. You'd think they'd recast him, wouldn't you? You'd think so, because, Anton Yelchin wasn't Chekhov. He played him in the Star Trek films, but Walter Koenig's Chekhov, isn't he, with the original Chekhov? But they recast him for the films and recast everybody else, so why not recast him now? It's been long enough. And I think he'd want that myself. I don't think he'd want to be stuck with him. Anyway, whatever. Right, Shakman was successfully courted by Marvel Studios to helm its Fantastic Four reboot, reuniting the WandaVision director with the studio after Spider-Man No Way Home director John Watts left that film in April. Hang on, there's a video playing there. Let's get rid of that. Shakman first became attached to the Star Trek sequel in the summer of 2021, following his acclaimed run directing every episode of WandaVision. The Trek announcement even landed the same day Shakman was nominated for an Emmy for the show. I quite liked WandaVision, apart from the latter episodes. I really liked it at the beginning when it was all in black and white, and it was like in a 50s and then 60s comedy sitcom thing. I thought it was interesting, and there were little nuggets of intrigue in there. So yeah, I enjoyed that, but it kind of went off the rails towards the end. Anyway, plus Wanda's gorgeous. I do a simp for Elizabeth. What's her face? Then this February, Abrams announced during the Paramount Global Investors Day presentation that a new Trek movie will be shooting by the end of the year and would feature our original cast. I don't think even he believed that, to be honest. He just said it to try and force Paramount into giving it a green light. I think that's what he did. He tried to use the press to, push the issue to get some work, because they're not doing a lot really, are they, at Bad Robot at the moment? They signed a Megabooks deal with Warner Brothers, which seems to have fallen through. There doesn't seem to be a lot going on there at the moment. So I think that's what they're doing. Hopefully, the wheels are coming off the Bad Robot wagon. You know, I don't want to see anybody lose their jobs and stuff, but J.J. Abrams and his cohorts haven't done modern cinema and modern television any favours, have they? Right, the only problem, according to insiders, was that Pine, Quinto and the rest of the cast had not yet officially signed up for the movie when Abrams made his announcement, leaving Paramount with less than a year to secure the in-demand actors. Yeah, because he hadn't, it just, he hadn't made any real plans. He just blurted out that they were doing this to try to force Paramount into action. With the film now off its schedule, and it's backfired, with the film now off its schedule, that deadline is no longer looming, but it still leaves Paramount without plans for an entry in its most valuable franchise. The last Trek feature came in 2016 with Star Trek Beyond, directed by Justin Lin. Beyond earned $343.5 million worldwide, the lowest grossers of any of the Trek reboots from Bad Robot, and it cost something like, I think, like $180 million to make, which is ludicrous for a Star Trek film. They don't need to cost that much. It's not been for lack of trying either. Paramount has pursued multiple Trek film projects since Beyond, including reuniting Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth, who played Kirk's father in 2009 Star Trek, for director S.J. Clarkson, as well as versions overseen by Fargo auteur Noah Hawley, and yes, even Quentin Tarantino. None of them have been able to achieve orbit. Meanwhile, Star Trek is enjoying its most robust presence ever on television, with 5 ongoing Trek series. I have to put Trek in quotes. Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard, Star Trek Lower Decks, Star Trek Prodigy and Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I must admit, I really like Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Discovery and Picard I'm not a fan of. Lower Decks I absolutely loathe. Prodigy is not bad, but it's not really Star Trek. All in various stages of production for Paramount+. The latest entry, Strange New Worlds, even takes place roughly in the same time period as the Pine and Quinto movies, albeit in a totally separate timeline. And that's it. So there we go. So no Star Trek 4 coming next year, which nobody ever thought it was going to. Right, so that's it. Quick Star Trek news for you. So we'll leave it there. So wherever you are in the alpha and beta quadrants, and if you go through the wormhole, the gamma quadrant, and if you're on Voyager in seasons 1 to 7, in the delta quadrant, maybe you're a Borg and in there already. But wherever you are in the universe, look after each other. And until next time, I'll see thee.